evening and welcome to On the Campaign Trail. Every week we try to make sense of the 2022 elections. But we know that the democratic project is in great danger, and that shapes how we think of the May 9 elections. It isn't just elections as usual. In 2022, hashtag we decide. Without neglecting the other basic questions, on the campaign trail we'll ask how we decide and why we decide. I'm John Nery, and you are on the campaign trail. You may have noticed it by now. More and more young religious, especially young priests, have chosen to actively support the presidential candidacy of Vice President Leni Robredo. Part of the reason we've noticed is that they are active and savvy on social media. And part is, well, there are now many more of them. For instance, a group called Pari Madre Misionero para kay Leni has over 1,000 members on Facebook. And its statement on the May 9 elections has over 650 signatures. What explains this phenomenon? Is it related to the nature of the Robredo candidacy, a genuine people's campaign? Or is it explained by other factors with deeper roots in Philippine culture and history? I am delighted to say that we are joined tonight by some of those very religious who are in their own ways influencing the shape of public discourse about the 2022 elections. Father Michael Angelo Dacalos of the Missionaries of the Sacred Heart of Jesus is known familiarly as Father Mike with a Y, MSC. He joins us tonight from Butuan. Father Ronald Balaces, CSSR, or the Redemptorist Order, is known to many as Pari Koy, after that character portrayed by Ding Dong Dantes. He joins us from Batangas. Father John Era is a Vincentian, or a CM, whom some of you may follow on Facebook and YouTube. He joins us from Quezon City. And Sister Maria Lisa Ruedas of the Daughters of Charity was among the nuns who rushed to the site of the mural in Las Piñas after it was forcibly repainted white. She joins us from Pasay City. Sister Lisa, Father Mike, Pari Koy, Father John, thank you and welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you. Good evening.
Thank you.
Evening po.
Good evening. Let's start with Sister Maria Lisa. Sister, how did you find out about the forced repainting of the Leni Kiko mural on that privately owned wall in Las Piñas? And why did you rush there? Can you tell us a bit about how you as a religious community decided on what to do?
Yeah, good evening. Actually, it was also a rush invitation. But before that, I personally saw already that event in the Facebook posted by the young people from Las Piñas for Leni. And that evening before that night, I was already invited by the OSB, Benedictine sisters, that we will go to the place the following day to show our support and to be there to make a stand that indeed expressions of creativity, arts, uh, freedom to express oneself, especially among the artists, need to be also supported. And so, with that in my heart and in my mind, and really in close collaboration with the Benedictine sisters here in St. Scholastica's College, and with Pari Madre Misionario para kay Leni, in that sense, yung we have really full a full support to every activity that would call for us in order to support our stand. And so that early morning of I think that Tuesday, that's March 14, together with four sisters from the OSB, we rushed to the place. Actually, we're bringing a lot of paraphernalia, candles, pots, yes, banners for Lenny Kiko, and rosaries colored pink, and many ribbons. When we got to the place, well, we see how the place was being really a kind of devastated in terms of the art expression that we see. So the first thing that we do is put our hands on the wall. Really, yeah. It's very touching. Put our hands on the wall, feel the efforts, the energy, the desire of the young people to express themselves.
Mhm.
And then in silence, we're really trying to pray silently, our individual prayers. But after that, we really go around the perimeter of that space, no? And then see what are the other needs that we can do. So we put the banners and then try to again tie ribbons. And then if you could see that that picture, one of our sister's companion went up really there to
Mhm.
find where we can stick on the flaglets that we're bringing.
Mhm.
But deep in her heart and her mind, she said she went up really to feel how was the situation when those people who repainted white that wall is in position. So actually, it's an ongoing construction there.
Yeah.
At the back of that wall are piles of land fillings. So if you go up there, you can really put your feet on and then you can do anything that you want. So after that, we decided to light the candle and we're trying to prepare ourselves for our prayer. And then we have some medals, St. Benedict's medals,
Mhm.
brought by the Benedictine sisters, and we go around the place and put there and pray. Why are we praying? Because we would like to bring in the message that our expressions of support to the young people is also based on our faith. That what we are doing there
Mhm.
is a strong show of our protest of the devastation done by this unidentified or alleged group of people who would not like to put that murals there. In
Mhm.
fact, when we go there, it's not really a big intention to repaint or paint a picture there. But the truth is, we will bring already the paint. No? But the sisters, some of us are, we will not paint. We will just see the place. And the first thing that we can do is to really pray. And of course, that's a very strategic place, locations.
Mhm.
I think there are one, two, three, four roads converging together. It's a long C5, and of course there were people looking at us. Some glances, some are trying to smile, and others showing the L sign for Lennian support. Others
Mhm.
are really looking at with a lot of questions in their minds, and maybe a kind of resisting our presence there. But
Sister, I'm struck by well, two things. First, um, that there was this consultation and collaboration with other religious communities, and also that you saw the vandalism taking place almost in real time because I guess you were on social media. You were following up. I'd like to ask Parikoy in Batangas. I was following some of your tweets. You retweeted some of the tweets about that mural incident, Parikoy, including one that read, "Sa politikong walang morals, nagpapabura ng murals." Naku, nawala si pare ko. We've been having some technical difficulties with his connection. Um, Maybe I can ask. Of course, this was on his Twitter, but maybe I can ask Father John or Father Mike. No? Wh- why?
Father Ronald is coming.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So I just wanted to ask Pari Koy, why did you retweet that? Sa politikong walang moral,
Sorry.
papaboran ng murals. Can you talk about the connection between morals and politics?
Yeah, I think mahalagang usapin sa atin
I'm sorry about that. We'll try to establish a better connection. Father Mike, in one of your tweets, you wrote, mahihiya ako kung pari ako, tapos ang masama ang pinaglalaban ko. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's really a good question po, no? Kasi with all my tweets then, I think it started late last year when I first had my tweet kasi na I wrote there na parang nahihiya naman ako sa mga propeta if ako na modern day prophet ngayon hindi magsalita. Now just because of the threat of bashing, pambabastos, or any other threat. So sabi ko nga na mahihiya ako kung pare ako if I endorse whether in silence or in words yung mga character or yung mga ways or methods which run against the gospel values. Kasi parang for me personally, how can I preach the gospel? How can I preach in the mass na about life, about honesty, about the gospel principles if my my public pronouncements are running against it, no? Running against those very principles that I'm preaching. So yun po yung pinagbabasehan ko na na dapat hindi ako I wouldn't go into living a kind of double life na iba yung pinipreach ko sa misa, iba din yung sinasabi ko outside of the mass. So kasi magkakaroon ng confusion not only in myself but also to the public or to the faithful na who are also listening, no? Who are also attending the very mass that I am celebrating. Yan po.
Father John,
Yeah, opo.
is taking a side in politics, is that allowed by the church? Are priests and religious allowed to do that?
We had this discussion one time sa aming sa school, the St. Vincent School of Theology. Pinag-usapan nga namin to, and we recognize that this is not the normal way of doing things, at least sa aming bilang mga religious mga pare. At alam namin na iba yung panahon ngayon. At yun lang, that common good is at stake. Yung gospel values na sinabi ni Father Mike is at stake. But usually we don't do this. Ako nga, first time ko rin itong gawin. No? Dahil yung background ko bilang isang Vincentianong pare, bilang isang Katolikong pare, nakikita ko na something is wrong na dapat may gawin kami. And at the same time, as a congregation, pinag-isipan din namin itong lahat. Hindi lang naman ako ito eh. The Vincentian family, kami, yung mga congregation of the mission, we really discerned na itong prosesong ito, dinaanan namin. And we said that we are really, in panahon ngayon, iba. At kinakailangan namin mas maging vocal at magsalita. At marami na kami pinagdaanan. Nagsimula pa ito sa EJK. Very vocal na kami na dahil una, mga mahihirap ang aming mga pinaglilingkuran. Bilang mga Vincentianong pari, kagaya ni Sister, yung mga Daughters of Charity, founder namin St. Vincent de Paul, at yun talaga ang aming pinaglalaban. Kaya from the very start, nagbi-build up eh. And we saw that we don't want this to continue anymore. Ayaw na namin. Why? Kasi, yung mga mahihirap ang kawawa eh. Yung mga mahihirap ang talo. And I think we have to side with the poor. Yun po.
Balikan natin mamaya, Father, no? Ang ganda nung sinabi mo tungkol dun sa, actually may pinagmulan to. I mean, this has built up over the years. And for instance, marami ngang mga pare already took issue over the EJKs. No? So marami nangyari, tapos maraming apektuhan. And so hindi lang nangyari to out of the blue. Balikan natin yun, no? Pari Koy, I hope our
Yes,
connection.
can you hear me?
Yan, I can, yeah, wait, we can hear you. Balikan po natin yan, ano? Meron kang ni-retweet. Ang mga politikong walang morals, nagpapabura ng mural. Bakit mo ni-retweet yun?
Kasi parang, you know, why would a politician or would like to, you know, to parang deface mo ang isang mural na ang mural ay isang form ng art na kung saan ito ay nagpapahiwatig ng isang lalo na kung mga mural nagpapahiwatig ng kagandahan sa buhay, ng pangarap ng tao. You know, it's an expression of our dreams sometimes ng mga tao. So, and most of those dreams are coming from our moral, galing doon sa ating moral na stand sa buhay, you know, kabutihan, pakikipagkapwa-tao, you know. And para sa akin, you know, defacing that mural, anong mensahe ang pinapalabas natin, no? So para sa akin isang immoralidad iyon, no? It's not just about politics, you know. It's about respect, you know, to this to those who painted, you know, those murals, because these are expressions of their uh, of, of their dreams, and this could be also expressions of their moral uh, standpoint, no? Maraming mga forms ng arts na nakakasira sa katauhan, sa sangkatauhan. Yung dapat ang ating binubura. Hindi itong mga murals na wala namang sinasagasaan, wala namang taong sinasaktan, kundi an expression of people's dreams and hope po. Lalo na gawa ito ng mga volunteers. No? Yes po.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to that tweet of Father Mike's that I quoted earlier. Because there's a second half, there's a second part to it. The second part reads, magalit ka na, pero mas matauhan ka sana. This tone or approach seems new. It is direct, personal, almost accusatory. Go ahead, it seems to be saying, get angry, but I hope you get enlightened first. But I see this not just with Father Mike's tweets. No? Many of you, when you respond to critics or to supporters of Marcos, adopt this very candid, more authentic tone. Can I ask all of you, starting with Sister, bakit ganon? Bakit ganon na yung tono?
First, I believe that we need to enlighten, at the same time to evangelize our viewers or people that would publicly can see our tweets, our posts. And we'd like to maintain that stance, like Lainey was always saying, mas radikal magmahal. Hindi na kailangan makikipag-away, lalabasan ng mga masasamang sasalita. What is better done is to inject a kind of values and a kind of greater sense of the truth that we would like to proclaim and to express in the message that we are bringing in. At the same time, siguro yung gusto naming ipapakita yung mas malalim na kahulugan kung bakit kaming mga madre, pare, misyonaryo ay nagiging engaged in this political sense of engagement to bring home a message that this is a democratic space that we would like to gain momentum. And so even though we are free to express our emotions, our sentiments, but we take on a stand and to hold on to the ground that we would like to give a message of hope, love, friendship, sense of a common concern for something that we would like to see forward, a better society, a better relationship, good governance.
Thank you, sister. Ihuli natin si Father Mike kasi sa kanya galing yung tweet. Pare ko napapansin ko ganun din yung tono mo. I mean, very personal. Some people might read it the wrong way. Parang bakit ganito magsalita tong parin to, parang masyadong diretso. Why do you adopt that tone?
I think it's more on where you ako very aware ako doon on how we use our language. And I am using sometimes to answer parang mga bashers because most of these are coming from bashers and some are came from mga fake news peddlers if I will check their profiles. So one way to respond them is sometimes we need to use the language that would be confrontational. Jesus, it's coming from our to learn from Jesus that he confronts the evil. No? Walang pakeme-keme, no? Wala nang pafasad-fasad, no? This is wrong. Nasa hayagan na sinasabi yung kasinungalingan. So kailangan itama natin iyon right on the spot, at walang pakeme-keme sa language na parang baka masasaktan siya, baka I think sometimes love, expression of love could at times be tough. For our message to really to put across our message. Nakakalungkot na kailangan pa nating dumating sa punto na iyon na kung saan we can talk more in a decent way na parang mas mahinahon. But talagang kung sinusundan niyo po yung dati yung mga tweets ko or even sa Facebook, talagang sobra yung sometimes yung pambabastos, sobra yung parang walang parang let's use the word parang walang modo, no? And these are Christians, these are Catholics, they are professing their faith, and how come that this is their attitude, just to defend a person who para lang idepensa ng isang tao na harap-harapan din nagsisinungaling sa atin. That's very wrong. So at times, tough talaga ang the way we answer it, talagang medyo the language we use the language I use is confrontational, and at times we have to confront our faith. We have to confront our faithful for them to realize and to invite them, why kung bakit ito ganun yung pagsasalita namin, parang ano yung mensahe, parang ganun po, a strong message po,
like Jesus with the money changers, ano?
Yes.
Father John, is this seemingly new language or more this embrace of more confrontational language, is that one of the effects of this long process that the church has had to go through in the last several years, with the EJ case and so on? I wanted to bring in President Duterte's language, kasi ngayon pinag-usapan yung parang walang modo, mga bastos. Pero alam ko din na hindi lang naman sa atin. I mean, if you're following yung mga so-called Christian nationalists, Catholic nationalists in the US, and the way they attack Pope Francis, napakabastos din, ano? So parang it obviously is not just Duterte. Is it social media? Is there something in the air now? Bakit po ganun?
Ako po, I would like to believe na yun yung kultura ngayon sa social media. Kaya I don't see my postings na very confrontational. I would say, I try to review nga. More of, I try to deal with the emotions sa akin. I try to express my feelings. I think dun ako. For example, kung galit man ako, I don't do it in such a way na aawain ko yung kinagagalitan ko. Pero I try to point out to them that you are hurting me. You are hurting the people that I love. Yung mga taong mahalaga sa akin, sinasaktan mo. Kaya nasasaktan din ako, and I had to speak the truth. And I had to tell you that you are doing it wrong. And I think yung ganong message na gusto ko iparamdam sa kanila na Hindi dahil komportable ang buhay natin, pagka tinitira natin ang mga mahihirap, pinapatay natin sila, hindi na ibig sabihin nun na kinakailangan tayo ay wala lang, we just ignore. And I cannot, and I really cannot. So I don't blame people who are angry because of that. No, I journeyed with people who were killed, yung kanilang mga mahal sa buhay, and I completely understand the rage. No? And part of my role, kasi counselor din po ako, part of my role is to listen to them and really understand where they're coming from, bakit galit na galit sila. And I think that's part of part of our humanity. No? Magagalit ka naman talaga kapag kami injustice. No? And I think maganda ilabas din yon, maiparating yon. Pero ako, at the end of the day, I try to, negotiate that process, ika nga. Because ako naman, naniniwala ako na kung i-confront ko lang palagi, baka hindi na sila makinig eh. Baka magsara sila. Gusto ko rin maramdaman nila na may nasasaktan sila. And I want to touch their hearts. Na sana may ayun ba, alam ko mga tao to, siguro may konsensya pa naman eh. Na sana maramdaman nila yung sakit na nararamdaman ng mga tao. And that's how I do it para sa akin. No? Kaya, I hope meron na naantig ang mga puso. Pero on my Facebook, marami. At mga kaibigan ko, and then they started helping also itong mga mahihirap na tinutulungan namin. So I think, yung message ko nakakarating. Pero kahit sino naman, magagalit ka naman po talaga. No? Lalong-lalo na kung ikaw yung nandun sa lugar nila.
Thank you. Father Mike, paano nga ba sila matauhan?
Minsan kasi, just to also, in relation to that tweet po, kasi being active sa Twitter, mas nakikita ko ano yung klaseng language yung pwede sa Twitter, at in a way mas effective. Like, yeah, I'm adapting to that kind of language while remaining firm to the principles that I hold dearly, especially the gospel and the principles from my faith that I preach. And siguro doon ko parang ina-adapt ko lang yun into the language sa Twitter. I even parang nakikita ko yung difference na how I compose my post in Facebook and how I compose my post sa Twitter. Kasi with Twitter, there's so much limitations character-wise. So kaya parang kailangan talaga na nandoon na yun sa like 140 characters. So talagang pinag-iisipan kung ano lang talaga yung essential at yung parang in a way witty, in a way nakukuha talaga yung pansin, and also while remaining hindi naman talaga bastos. Like, it's very tempting actually na to use the term makipagbardagulan sa Twitter, but I'm also being reminded na pare din ako, na itong yung mga kausap ko, kahit medyo or kahit talagang parang tabingi yung mga prinsipyo, ay tao pa rin, mahal pa rin ng Panginoon. And these people, I need also to reach out, ito po din kasi yung paggamit ko rin po ng Twitter is also evangelizing for me. Kasi sometimes nakikita ko rin na Michael, medyo nasusobrahan na very very witty nga, pero yung intention naman is really just for the sake of clapping back, against their argument. So parang doon ko nakikita na I also need to step back and review my tweets, and kung nakikita ko naman talaga na ang intention behind is just to make bardagulan kahit subtly, I will delete. I will delete my tweet kasi yun nga, it's also a continuous process for me of learning.
Thank you. My next question, let's talk politics now. I mean, specifically political matters. My next question is for Sister and for Parikoy. Why Lenny?
Wow. A beautiful question. During the times of our discernment, what we call this collective discernment, prayer, and then come to a certain time where we have to really post in social media the stand of the Daughters of Charity, we answer the same question. Why Lenny? In her person, we find her the qualities of a servant leader, her desire to reach out to the poorest of the poor, the good government platforms that she had presented. In fact, it took us also a time really to study and to discuss and reflect among ourselves in the different local houses and the Daughters of Charity to gain that momentum of looking at Lenny as the best presidential uh, bet that we could endorse. Tell our people, tell our lay partners in mission, and why. Besides of her good qualities, we find her also that Christian values a person with a heart that would really stand for um, what she has been telling to people. We find in her a lot of integrity and sincerity. And of course, she is Vincentian, but in her person, in her personality and character, as we follow her in her engagements and wherever places, we could really attest that she in herself has the qualities that we would like to of a leader: compassion, competence, with conscience, that character, and at the same time yung tinitingnan namin yung greater compassion for the country, and really her stand to become an instrument for um, transform governance in the Philippines.
Thank you. Parikoy?
My choice for VP Lene Robredo is, I think it's very personal because I have witnessed how she and the office of the vice president work. No, uh, this was during the onset ng lockdown noong 2020 during the pandemic. Nung nagsarado lahat ng ating mga borders. And during that time, may mga kababayan tayo sa dito because I was assigned before in Baclaran, dyan sa Metro Manila, sa Parañaque. And maraming mga kababayan na nagtangkang maglakad from Manila and some from Cavite pauwing mga probinsya. And na-rescue ito ng mga kapatid din namin mga pare dito na sa bandang Quezon. And nung na-rescue sila, wala silang mapuntahan. So, humingi sila ng tulong sa Office of the Vice President. And minimal ng kayang gawin ng Office of the Vice President because they don't know what to do. And hope at hindi sila nakalusot, hindi sila nakauwi sa kanila sa probinsya. So, naghanap sila ng matutuluyan para sa mga stranded individuals na ito. Nakita nila ang Baclaran. And then, kami naman takot, hindi namin ang gagawin. Baka may mga virus sila, may pinoprotektahan nga natin yung mga sarili natin. Kaya nga nag-lockdown, sa mga bahay lang tayo, sa kumbento lang tayo, huwag tayong lalabas. Pero tinanggap namin, walang mapupuntahan yung mga tao, tayo ang pinuntahan. Bakit natin tatanggi, may space naman tayo available. So, and from that on, tinulungan namin ito. And then the Office of the Vice President ay hindi bumitaw. Simula nung sila ay aming na-rescue, tapos pinakain namin sila ng yung first group na ito, pinakain namin ng almost 15 days bago namin na-process na pwede na silang umuwi sa kanilang probinsya. At dahil po doon, nakita ko yung dedikasyon, yung hindi lang VP Lene Robredo is not just a politician. No? He is a servant talaga, servant leader, na kung saan ang kanyang pagtulong, ang kanyang opisina ay ginagamit niya talaga na parang ginagamit niya upang talagang umalalay sa mga tao, higit lalo na doon sa mga nangangailangan. During that time, nakapagpauwi kami sa Baclaran mismo ng more than 7,000 locally stranded individuals. At walang pangalan ng Leni Robredo, walang ah, walang walang pa-hype na politiko. Unlike ng iba nung dumami yung na-expose kami sa TV, tapos dumami yung mga taong pupunta sa Baclaran, tapos marami ding mga media pupunta. Then there were a lot of politicians who came to Baclaran, and ako talaga yung and I know na parang marami sa kanila gustong tumulong, but at the end of the day, hindi naman talaga sinasagot yung pangangailangan ng tao. Parang mag-abot lamang ng dole out ng count ng halaga or ng food packs, then makapag-photo ops sa kanila. So ginagawa yun. But VP Leni Robredo did not go to Baclaran. Mga staff niya lamang ang ating kausap. Pero talagang from day one hanggang lahat ng itong 7,000 plus individuals itong makauwi sa kanilang probinsya ay kanyang sinamahan. At ito yung klase na leader na kailangan natin. Hindi yung leader na pupunta lamang upang pag umiiyak tayo patatahanin. Kundi isang leader na gagawa ng paraan para mabigyang masolusyonan ating mga problema natin. Sa panahon na pandemic, sabi ko, takot na takot ang lahat, but VP Leni, para sa akin, a source of inspiration talaga sa bokasyon ko. Oh my God, ako bilang followers ng ating Panginoon, takot na takot ako noon. But here is this woman going extra mile. Hindi naman siya religious. She's a vice president, no? Ginagawa niyang lahat para makatulong. So, I think that's the kind of leader na kailangan natin. At kaya nga, after nitong mga panahon nito, I'm not a voter kasi hindi ako naniniwala sa election sa Pilipinas. Parang pare-pareho lang naman, walang nangyayari, but nag-decide ako na magpa-rehistro bilang botante kasi sabi ko tataya ako para kay Leni Robredo kasi nakita ko yung yung dedikasyon and very quality ng isang tinatawag talagang servant leader na ating hinahanap. Sana patuloy na isang taong nakikilakbay, handang umagapay sa kanyang kapwa. Opo. Thank you po.
Thank you, Paricoy. For Father Mike first and then Father John, why not Marcos?
Marcos. No, not for any other reason than yun nga. I will quote VP Leni. No, sinungaling, alam na nagsisinungaling, and then still would insist on his lies. No, parang kahit may mga resibo na parang bakit ganon. Yung tanong ko nga sa sarili ko, recibos are very much available. Pero parang bakit walang hiya, walang takot magsinungaling? No, kahit nandyan na yung court decisions, nandyan na yung official announcement from certain universities denying that he graduated from those institutions, pero bakit pa rin parang garapalan ang pagsisinungaling? So that itself, very basic honesty issue. Yun lang, parang I cannot imagine having or choosing that kind of candidate na would really run against my principle in life na pinalaki ako sa bahay, to be honest. Yun din yung formation namin sa seminaryo. So like, for me personally, kahit hindi ako pare, why would I choose someone who would run against my personal principles in life? Like honesty, diligence, honesty, diligence, and kahit yung sense of service. Kasi sa panahon din ng pangangailangan, wala rin talaga unless there's really opportunity to package himself. So yun po yung why I won't consider Marcos.
Thank you. Father John?
Oh, nako. Magandang tanong po yan. Dahil ang totoo niyan, kaya ako isa sa mga naglakas loob na lumabas because of that reason. Dahil hindi talaga po pwede siya. Una, I don't see him serving really. Sinabi na ni Father Mike, no, yung pagsisinungaling. And bukod doon, yung resibo, wala. I don't see anything na talagang nagserbisyo sa tao, sa mga mahihirap. No? Pangalawa, yung mga nakaw na dapat sana ibalik at humingi ng tawad, wala din. everything is being denied. At ang pinakaano dito yung corruptions din, no? O yung mga responsibility sa bayan, hindi pagbabayad ng buwis, ang mga responsibility mo, no? Yung bang lahat pakabig. Para sa akin, kawawa dito ang tao, kawawa ang mga Pilipino. And again, babalik ko, kawawa yung mga mahihirap. Sila ang kawawa ultimately dito. With corruption, with insincerity, dishonesty, and of course, yung history pa nila, kasama na rin po yun. Dapat kasama lahat yun kasi track record eh. Hinahanap natin track record eh. Kaya yung doon ako nag-focus, and fortunately, it's the opposite ni Leni Robredo. A complete opposite. Kaya doon ako. Yun dapat i-promote ko. And knowing the fact na I know, malakas si Bongbong Marcos, I can see that, no? But with all the lies, no, the way people are brainwashed to believe all these lies, yun yung nakakatakot eh. When you will have that kind of leaders na hindi magiging honest o ano, nakakatakot para sa akin. What will happen to us? What will happen to our own consciousness? No? Kaya talagang no, not him.
Thank you. We're running a little long, but I'd like to ask each of you one question. Let me start with Father John again. No? Father John, I wanted to ask your theological perspective. We're seeing something unprecedented, no? These large, joyful rallies, no? Put together by volunteers. Not to put you on the spot, but how can we understand this theologically? I mean, as a priest, when you're looking at that, you know, this coming together of people, what does that tell us?
Yeah. I think it's ultimately driven by love. Love naman lahat ito eh. When you volunteer, I for one, I volunteer. Not because dahil tawag ito, I am hopeless or what. But it's because of my love for my country and my love for the poor that we serve, our parishioners. And I see that wherever I go, marami talaga nagbo-volunteer. And when we gather, yung mga rallies or what, yun ang maririnig mo, same stories that bonds the people. No? Kumbaga sana yung pinagsama-sama dahil yung hindi na itong sarili mo iniisip mo eh. And I think that is very, very Christian when you stop thinking about yourself. Dito, hindi na namin iniisip na ikaw yung magpapayaman. Ang iniisip mo na kung ano yung maibibigay mo. And that is very Christian. No? Kung ano yung maibibigay mo. Hindi yung kung ano yung kakabigin mo. Unfortunately, marami sa ating mga politiko iniisip ano yung kakabigin nila eh. And now what we are seeing, especially itong mga movement ng mga taong ito, what we are seeing is the opposite. Na what we can give. And hopefully, sana, yung mga leaders natin, maisip din yon. Ano pa talaga ibibigay nila? Hindi lang sila yung magpapayaman o yung gusto lang nila dumami yung kanilang kapangyarihan para magawa nila ang gusto nila, mapatayin nila yung gusto nilang patayin. Sana hindi ganun eh. But we can come together and really help one another. And I think this is what I'm seeing. Kaya, for me, yeah, sabi ko, yung pag-ibig na yun. At ito yung nagbubuklod-buklod kaya ang mga tao ay kayang magbigay beyond their time, yung kanilang oras pa. Ako madalas puyat ako. No? Binabayaran ba ako? Hindi. Ginagawa ko itong lahat ito. Kasi dahil alam kong minamahal ko ang kapwa ko, minamahal ko ang bayan ko, at alam ko dahil ito minamahal ko ang Diyos, at gusto ko itong i-share sa mga taong ating nakakasalamuha. Ilan po?
Thank you, Father John. Sister Lisa, there is no denying that the Catholic Church remains one of the most influential institutions. And of course, in your own respective roles, you also exercise influence. But when we look at the surveys, we see that majority of Catholics still think that Bongbong Marcos is the preferred choice for president, thinks that he is the least corrupt, and so on and so forth. Of course, we can see there are many Catholics and Christians moving, no? Pero mas marami pang hindi naaabot. How can we understand the situation?
Yeah. Although there's really so much struggle, no? Siguro the level of the Catholic Church to really put things into oneness and solidarity. But still, I could sense and I could say that in spite of these differences, there's a lot of signs of hope
Mhm.
for our country. Because as Christians, we really have that greater and deeper hope that in spite of these struggling moments, these indifferences, we would come to a time that the hearts will be open, there will be more conversions, understanding of these Catholics who are still undecided right now, and with this presence of joy and voluntarism that we see all around. Of course, there are also a lot of bashing about these rallies and caravans around, but still, there's so much self-giving and contribution among our people. And we could count, there are also a lot of Catholics there, and putting together in this energy, this joy into a multitude of generosity, love of country, and really our hope for a change in the Philippine governance right now. And so, in spite of this reality that there are still some Catholics that need a lot of conversion, there are also a lot of initiatives right now on the grounds reaching out to these undecided, indifferent, and sometimes resisting Catholics. And we are doing our part. Either we are praying, others are reaching out to these people in the different communities where we are, different congregations. No, we try really our best. As we said, tatayuan na namin to. We really made a prophetic stance on this to really support Lainey, because we believe that she is the best person to become president of the Philippines in 2022. And so in spite of these difficulties and maybe really yung parang questionings why, still we are very full of hope. Surveys wise, um, still we believe that with the Google survey and the sentiment survey, of course, considering buzzers, troll farms, still with God, with our faith and the truth that we are going to stand for, the truth will really set us free. And we look forward for our win on this coming May 2022. For
Thank
your
you.
win. Yes.
Thank you. Father Mike, 30 years ago, Jaime Cardinal Sin not only led the church but led the nation. I wanted to ask you, do you think that we need another Cardinal Sin to have that kind of uh, uh, success, you know, as in people power? Or we're now in a situation where we don't need a Cardinal Sin to lead us.
I mean, having figures like Cardinal Sin is a boost to our confidence, no? Someone in leadership position who will affirm our principles as a people would be good to this kind of movements. But I think I would bank more on really the people. No, like yun nga, in as much as like yung pagiging brainwash ng marami sa atin really took years to really parang maging parang it really took years to develop. I think it's the same thing na as regards to a people who know their dignity, who know their worth as a people, who would demand what's best for them. So I would bank more on that po. No, like yeah, it may take a long time. It may really demand much effort in the part of those who are going to be in charge of their formation, like priests, pastors, or any persons in authority, persons in formation. Pero yun nga, the quality of the movements would also be good. So yeah, it's good to have figures like Cardinal Sin, charismatic and all, that would affirm our beliefs and that would affirm our principles, but walang mas makakatalo sa mga taong alam ang kanilang dignidad, alam ang kanilang worth, at alam kung anong klaseng serbisyo ang dapat na ibigay ng gobyerno para sa kanila.
Thank you. And Pare Koy, what more can Catholics do in the 50 plus days to election day?
Unang-una, magdasal. It's really coming from our deep relationship with Christ, with our God, that would help us to really uh, journey ang election na ito. We pray harder. Pangalawa, we continue uh, to evangelize. And evangelization means we continue to proclaim the good news. That at this point of our history, uh, ano ang mabuting balita na ibinibigay sa atin ng Diyos? I think it's an opportunity for us. Ang mabuting balita ay ang baguhin natin yung ah, maling pananaw sa ating lipunan. Harapin natin yung mga fake news, di ba? Against yung sa mabuting balita, no? Contrary to the good news now is the fake news, kasinungalingan. At evangelization could also mean that we will also reach out to those people who have not hindi talaga naiintindihan, at biktima din karamihan talaga dito ay biktima ng maling impormasyon. At karamihan na may biktima ng maling impormasyon, nakakalungkot, ay yung mga kapatid pa din nating mga nasa laylayan ng lipunan na ating tinatawag, because dahil sa kakulangan ng access sa education before, no, hindi naman sa pagmamalit, but because dahil sa nagiging mas susceptible sila to these lies na dahil sa social media. At yun, pray, evangelize, at syempre, pang, pang, pangatlo, we mobilize people. Patuloy tayong kumilos. Magpadalo ng marami sa ating mga gawain upang hindi lamang ipanalo si VP Lenny, kundi magpadalo sa mga gawain ng pagkakawang gawa. Magpadalo sa mga gawaing naglalapit sa bawat isa sa atin. We have to do this, pray, evangelize, and mobilize people so that at the end of the day, we stay connected as a community of believers to God who calls us.
Thank you. What an inspiring conversation. For your time, your example, and your insights, thank you very much, Father Mike, Pare Koy, Father John, and Sister Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you po.
Thank you po. Salamat.
That's it for us tonight. Join us again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Follow us on the campaign trail because it isn't just elections as usual. This is John Nery. Good night.